saving as much money as possible with your car. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, you can go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com. And once you get to the website, go to the top of the page. There is a link that says Ask Prudent Money. Today, though, is a special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money, and Tony Joe will also take your question up at the top of that page. Just go through that link that I talked about and send it in with as much detail as possible, and we'll get you taken care of. Tony Joe, how's it going?
Very good, sir. How are you?
Whoa, it helped if I turned your mic up. There we go.
Very good, sir.
It's been a long time since I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Must be...
since last week.
Since last week, that's right. So how's life treating you?
Life is fine. Life is good. The weather is a little better. And I really want to know one thing. I see something on your paperwork here. It says intro and outro. Is outro a real word?
I believe it is. That's what I'm just trying to speak radio language.
I guess that's the lingo, huh?
I guess so. Intro, we'll have to ask Chris, who's the king of it all, and find out.
Yeah, he would know.
I'm almost positive it's a word.
Okay.
But thanks for asking that, and
certainly, you're welcome.
Potentially calling me out on air.
I like to bring things up whenever I see them.
So let's talk a little bit about a funny story. At least it was funny to me, about my son, my oldest son, realizing that this thing called a registration sticker had to be replaced. And there's just some things he and we don't talk about. But got pulled over by a policeman.
Let's qualify this saying your son is a young man, just getting started in life. Okay, continue.
And so got a citation for it, but all the running around, he could write a book on everything you have to do to get that registration done. But I thought what would be a good idea is, why don't you remind us what has to be done to get your car registered?
Oh, okay. Well, the way the inspection program is now, and the reason I'm bringing that up is just to make a quick comment on it. You need to have absolutely nothing in the computer system that's causing a problem. So likelihood, if the check engine light is not on and the car's been running okay, you can just drive in and get an inspection. 99% of the time, it'll pass, just if the check engine light is not on. They do check for a gas cap to make sure the integrity is within specifications, but that's a minor thing. So you have to get your car inspected first. Once you get the car inspected, the minute you get it inspected, as a matter of fact, you do get a receipt, which is good to have, a paper receipt. However, the information goes directly to Austin, and it is then recorded in the state computers so that when you enter the motor vehicle department to get your new tags or registration, which is the sticker on the window, then everything is, you qualify and they can look it up and make sure that everything is done. Now, a lot of counties, and you can look this up because I'm not sure which counties, but a lot of counties, you can go to the grocery store. I believe Tom Thumb is one of them. You can also do it online. So they try to make it convenient for you.
But the one thing, though, that Blaine found out is once you've gone
past
a certain, I think it's a 30-day window.
Yeah, I was just going to say, once you go past it, it's too late. Now you've got to actually appear at the motor vehicle department, stand in line, and go through the lengthy process of renewing your tags that way. So when we say tags, to the people that may be new here to Texas, you've got the inspection program, but that no longer gives you the sticker on the window. You have to get it state inspected. It's $18.50. They give you a receipt. Then you go online if you are in a county that qualifies, or you can go to certain grocery stores, and you can look all this up. because it's county dependent, Bob. And I don't want to say that everybody can do that because most people can do it that way. I just don't know which counties don't do it.
You mean, like going into the DMV and hanging out for a few hours?
Well, I'd rather jump off the Sears Towers head first onto a thumbtack than have to wait at the motor vehicle department.
Could you pull that off?
I could. I don't think I would, but I could. Yeah,
I don't know if I should be amazed or a little bit scared that you came up with that idea. It's just that's different. This is Bob Brooks saying you are listening to the Special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Well, Tony Joe, let's talk a little bit about the Middle East, what's going on in gas prices. It's almost like watching something in slow motion that's just taking place. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the days go by. And I just watch its effects on the markets and talk a lot about that. Mm-hmm. But it just, if you add up the numbers and you look at the black and white, I mean, there's no subtleties here. We could be in this situation for a while. Regardless of who says what and how long it's going to last, I don't believe you can ever predict that.
Right.
But when you start to look at the mountain of evidence that says, "Hey, this is going to be an issue," just simply because you've got country pride, you've got fighting for a vision, a mission, mm-hmm. and which is what you really see in a lot of these countries, mm-hmm. and we are not going to give up until the last person's, whatever it might be.
Right.
So you look at all that and you go, it's just like with the Ukraine and Russia war. I'm assuming that's still going on.
It is.
Yeah, and that's been 3 years?
4.
4.
But that.
I mean, I know it's all right. Things are different, but it's still the same. Mm-hmm. I think still applies.
So here's my take on it, since you're asking. The Strait of Hormuz is the big problem now, and that is getting tankers to go through there without being shot or bombed or sunk. And a lot of people don't want to take that chance. So right now, the U.S. military is escorting tankers through the strait, and that's helping. But Bob, I just my opinion, doesn't mean anything. Could we be in a forever war? Yeah, I suppose it's possible. I'm not going to. Well, a long term, like
right?
Russia and Ukraine. Could we end up being in that kind of a situation? We could. I'm not going to deny that it can't happen, but I look at it like here is a year where the midterms are coming up, and I'm going to tell you that as many years as I've been around, I don't want to date myself, but a long time. I've seen this before. I think you're going to see things get straightened out, and the price of fuel is going to drop because the midterms will affect the midterm voting. So each political party plays their little chess game, and you know how that works. Democrats, Republicans, they both do their little moves to try to hopefully get reelected and all that. So we'll see what happens. I'm not saying you're not correct. I don't know if you are or not. Could it happen? Sure, it could. But I just have a feeling that with the midterms coming up, I don't think it's going to last that long.
Yeah, I guess.
And I hope it doesn't last long.
Yeah, and I'm not predicting that it's going to last a long time. I'm saying it has all the elements,
all the
elements there. Mm-hmm. Also, one of the things that I've always found found to be true is that when everything says something's going to happen, something typically the other doesn't happen, and something else does.
Really?
It does, yes.
Well, after the show, I got a few notes. I want you to say a few things.
Yeah.
So the opposite happens? That's good to know.
Yeah, it really does. It's a contrarian thing.
So apparently you don't visit Vegas much. Things
don't
go your way.
Don't do that. Let's talk a little bit about the reality of high gas prices. And we started this list last week, and of course we didn't really get through it. We talked about driving habits. And one of the things we didn't talk about is just doing some pre-planning. which is tough for people to do. I'll be the first to admit it's tough for me to do, but to plan out those trips so that you're not driving back and forth and just burning unnecessary fuel.
That is incredible that you bring that up, because this week I was thinking about that. I had several things that had to be done in the same day. Not that I'm a great person who takes a great deal of effort to organize things, but I got up in the morning and I said, I could go here and be there by 12:30, and then I'm right down the street. I could pick those parts up at the auto store at 1 o'clock, and I kind of organized my day. It was incredible. I made one loop, came back with everything I needed, whereas in a normal day, I got to be honest, a normal day, 5 trips in and out. All it takes is a little bit of organization in your head, and you can save a lot of time, effort, and the end result that we want, fuel. Because you're not making 5 trips. You're making one long loop, and it's so much easier and cost-effective. With gas being as high as it is right now, it's a very good idea, and it just takes a little bit of forethought.
Yeah, another one on this list was use gentle acceleration when leaving stoplights. Right. And I'm always amazed at people around me. I'm probably more in that camp where I don't just take off. But the number of people around me who do take off, it's just always interesting.
It is interesting, and I'll tell you that I get beeped at a lot now, more so than ever. And
You're old.
No, it's just that I've learned that I've seen so many people run red lights. When it turns green, I'm looking left and right. I don't take off like I used to. Of course, people behind me are so impatient that, like that half second it takes me to look, beep. And I'm like, well, I'm making him safer too. He doesn't know it. But anyway, that's not the point we were talking about. You said taking off from stoplights. Fast acceleration is going to cause you to burn more fuel. And I think if you keep track of the time frames from these fast accelerations, you're going to find out that even though you took off like a rabbit from the light back there, by the time you get to the next light, everybody around you is all caught up to you. So you really don't make good time that way.
It's funny you were talking about the look from side to side. And I if there was one thing my boys over and over and over and over is to do that. And what's interesting, I'm like you. I do it religiously, and I'm very, very careful.
I do it out of fear because I've seen
you see so many
accidents.
But what's interesting, if you really watch what's going on, you can almost predict by watching their face who is not paying attention, who's going to pull right out in front. And also you can kind of do the timing of about now would be the time that someone, if they ran this red light, they're going to get smashed. And you're right, though, it happens all of the time.
And one more thing, I just want to bring up something that I never have mentioned on the air, but I'd like to just take a minute because it might save somebody's life someday. Here's another observation that I've made about driving habits. It has nothing to do with fuel economy, but I just want to bring it up. I have noticed, as you never connected the dots, but I think if you think about it, you'll see I'm right. We both know a particular place that you used to live. And in the summer, early spring and summer, you would see a lot of accidents there, okay, from people running red lights. Now, here's what I've noticed, because it happened to me. And it will never happen again, but it happened to me. I was test driving a car, and it was I was westbound, so I'm heading into the sun. It's about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. That sun comes down, and man, it blinds you. I went through a light, but I couldn't tell if it was red, yellow, or green. The sun was so bright. Now, that was my bad, because I should have had on some sunglasses, or I should have taken those precautions. But if you are in an intersection later in the afternoon in the summertime, or about now through summer, be very careful of the westbound traffic, because those people are the ones more than likely that I don't think they would run a red light intently. I think if they can't see as good as they would, because I'm only telling you about because it actually happened to me, and I'm really aware of things.
It seems like that
westbound stuff is what you want to watch out for.
It seems like that part of town It's just, whereas other parts, I know it's not true, but compared to other parts of town, is the worst for distracting sunlight.
Right.
I don't know why. I guess
why is that?
Maybe buildings are not built with spaces in them or something. I don't know what it is, but it is so bad.
It is, right. And that's what I'm trying to point out to others, because it may affect the way they take precautions, and maybe it'll save somebody's life or prevent an accident.
Also, and this is something that I would be willing to bet, and don't go check this right now if you're driving, but you've got the tire monitors that come up on the dashboard with all the just extremely cold weather, warm weather, cold weather. That does something to the pressure and the inflation of your tires. And I'll bet you that for most people, their tires are all over the place, which is not good for gas savings.
Well, that's true. And the tire monitor, I've never been a big fan of one cold morning and your light comes on for a low tire on the left front of the car, go rush and put air in it. Just wait a couple of days, and when the weather warms up and the tire pressure expands, it'll turn the light off, and you will have to take no action. A couple of pounds either way is not that big of a deal. 5 or more pounds is. Now that's getting into affecting your fuel economy. So 5 or more pounds either way, yeah, you should probably test it. But if it's just a couple of pounds either way, that's just due to normal expansion and contraction of the air inside the tire. And I wouldn't take any action.
Talk a little bit about changing out air filters. We mentioned this last time, but you go to the oil change shop, and it seems like they're always trying to get you to buy a new one. In a lot of cases, though, that may be the case. It
could be, and the only way that I've thought about a regular person who's not a mechanic and doesn't know how to protect themselves against being upsold on an air filter is to go online and look at pictures of a dirty air filter and a clean air filter. If you're at an automotive shop and you have a mechanic or something that you like, you could even have him show you a couple of real-life examples. So here you are, a mom with kids, you're busy, you got the van in for an oil change, and you got to pick the kids up at 3, and the guy comes out and says, you need a new air filter. How do you know whether you do or not? You have to know what a dirty one looks like and what a clean one looks like, and then make that judgment for yourself. You can always say, put it back in, and I'll have my mechanic change it later. Now, I'm talking about like if you're at an oil change place. Now, here's the thing about a dirty air filter that I want people to know, and that is the way computer technology controls the powertrain on an automobile these days is as follows. If that air filter gets plugged up with dirt and debris and starts to restrict the flow of air to the engine computer is going to say, hey, we only have so many cubic feet per minute of air coming in. It may not be what it's supposed to be. It would be less than it's supposed to be because of a dirty air filter. So you know what it's going to do? It's going to reduce the amount of fuel going to the injectors. Now, your car is going to run flat, kind of not enough power, kind of doesn't respond like it used to. And this is why you can get a dirty air filter can slowly, because you're used to driving it, and it can get worse and worse and worse, and you don't even know it. So you got to be careful you've got to really know what a dirty one looks like, whether you choose to buy it or not.
So here's a question for you. You have something such as an engine that has not been properly tuned. It's at 60,000 miles, hasn't had a tune-up, gone through that. You're noticing rough, that the drive is rough. So the question is, you got to go take care of that, and you think in the back of your mind, well, this is great for gas mileage. But how long, realistically, and I know it would be a while just to guess, but how long would it take you to get your money back? Because obviously, out of all the things you could do, probably a tune-up is going to be the more expensive checklist service item.
Yeah, one of them,
as far as coming down to saving gas mileage. But do you, if money's tight, do you spend the money to get that done today versus maybe waiting a little bit?
Bob, you do when gas is $3.59 a gallon. It doesn't take long to get your money back. Okay. Now, if gas is 42 a gallon, of course, it's going to take longer to recoup your investment in a tune-up. But I will say, beyond the saving of fuel and better economy, you're going to increase the power, the performance, and it's going to be better on the engine overall as far as long-term repairs. So there is recouping your money on the investment you made in the tune-up, as far as gas savings, yeah, it'll happen a lot quicker when gas is a lot higher, of course, because you do the math. But beyond all that, the tune-up is necessary simply because over time it's going to hurt the engine, it's going to hurt the catalytic converter, it's going to do some damage that's going to be more expensive later down the road to repair.
And this is something I always forget that I wanted to ask you. Wheel alignment, very, very important, because we've talked about this before. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can get one wheel out of alignment and cause the problem. Am I?
Certainly.
So when you go in, how difficult is it to get one wheel out of alignment? Because you look at, and this is just a specific example, you go to a car wash, you drive, you're still going to stay in the car, you're going to drive through that car wash, but it's that entrance to those little guardrails, and I'm just watching as people run up over the top of them, and then they fall into that slot, and I'm thinking
that bothers you. Yeah, I can understand.
I'm just thinking that's got to ruin that guy's wheel alignment.
No, Bob, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay.
What you're watching makes you uncomfortable, and I'm glad you brought that up because that does not really affect your wheel alignment. Now, let me start off by saying cars today are lighter weight, lighter duty cars than they ever used to be. Why? Because we are trying to make the cars lighter to get better fuel economy. So we skimp everywhere we can. And the metal they use and the construction process they use to rebuild or to build a front end on a car isn't as heavy duty as it used to be. So what can knock a wheel out of alignment real easy is the person that pulls up to a curb and hits it to make sure he's all the way over,
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever done that? Why, no. I've never done that, but I know guys that have, and it's really not a good practice. You can hit the curb a little too hard, and you can actually bend or stress the tie rod end, the lower control arm. You can affect the front end alignment if you do that over time. Doing it once or twice, probably not. But if you're the kind of person that just does that all the time, then yes, you can knock one or both wheels out of alignment simply by hitting curbs.
A couple of other resources that I don't think a lot of people know about, excellent resources though, as you're kind of planning out when to buy gas, where you're going to be in what parts of town, is this website called Gas Buddy. And it will tell you where to find the lowest prices. Now, we've talked about why the prices are lowest, and so I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I really care that I'm spending? And let me say, answer that question, see if you agree. Do I really care to buy gas that's much cheaper, and what the effects of it is in my car? Having said that, you've always said maybe to a response to that is that yes, it makes sense to buy the more expensive gas because you burn the
better quality fuel. Right.
The cheaper gas goes away a lot quicker.
Right. Exactly.
Took a while to get that out.
Well, I follow your thinking, and I do agree with you. And I would tell you this, above and beyond the fuel economy advantage to putting better quality fuel in your car, it is also like a tune-up. It is a lot better for the long-term gain to prevent costly repairs later on down the road. That fuel that you're putting in the car can do a lot of damage if it has a high content of alcohol, which cheap gas doesn't necessarily, but it can have a higher content of alcohol due to the fact that it's condensed it's kind of the last of the tanks that the big boys, ExxonMobil, Shell, Texaco, they don't want it in their gas stations. So it's really kind of advantageous to add up. And one more thing before we go real quick. Actually add up, because I did this one time, add up how much extra you're paying for gas over how many months you're doing it, you will find out it's minuscule.
Right.
It really doesn't make sense not to use better gas.
Yes, if you want to find the lowest prices nearby, you go to gasbuddy.com. If you want to find who's maybe a mixture of lower prices and quality,
you could go to top
tier gas.
Go to that, find out who has got the recommended fuel for your car and which ones they recommend by the manufacturer, and then go to Gas Buddy and just focus on those guys.
Good stuff. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. If you got a question for me, please go to the website and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.